Hello, this is video 1 for the Principles of Microeconomics by Maurice, Heena, and Alisha. Firstly, we're going to cover the rational economic person. Economists use this term to describe most people that are looking to save money and/or looking for the highest efficiency of a product without going out of their budget. Their goal is usually to maximize the use as a consumer and profit as a producer, and always to minimize personal cost. These people will go for the lowest cost, giving the highest benefit. Secondly, we're going to cover the importance of economic literacy. It's important to know the effects of every transaction and the effects of laws on the economy. People will usually go for what will give them a short-term benefit because they are not educated on economy and how their choices may affect them and the general economy in the long term. For example, if somebody's looking to buy a refrigerator, they will usually go for the lower cost regular refrigerator compared to an eco-friendly one because the normal one costs less. But in the long term, the regular refrigerator will yield higher costs than if they chose the eco-friendly one that wastes less electricity. The lesson that we can learn from this is that an investment in the moment can lead to a greater cost reduction in the future. So, we can see that most people do recognize economic terms, but they do not know how to put them into efficient use. Therefore, we can see that economic illiteracy leads to poor choices, which results in lower economic efficiency for both the person and potentially the country's economy if most people are making the wrong choices. On the other hand, as people get more education on the economy and how it functions, better choices are made and therefore the person's economic situation improves, as well as the country's if most people are making the right choices.
We got 11 people to take our survey online, and 3 of them took it in person with us. The following recordings contain their responses with some reasoning. In your opinion, should government pursue price control policies for basic food items?
Yes, I believe so, and it seems to be working here in Panama.
And in your opinion, should government pursue a minimum wage policy?
Yes, but it needs to be high enough for a person to get their basic needs.
When a person rents an apartment, who benefits from the transaction? The tenant, the landlord, or both?
I feel both benefit in a sense that the landlord makes money for their investment when they bought the apartment, and the person living in it, they have a place to stay.
For people waiting for organ transplants, do you think selling organs in a government-regulated environment would be a better solution than organ donation?
I think donating is better than selling, as some people might not be able to afford it.
How much sales tax do you pay for most goods in Panama?
It's 7%.
In your opinion, should recreational and medicinal marijuana be sold in coffee shops and pharmacies with appropriate government regulation?
I think legalizing marijuana for recreation, definitely not. If it is for medicine purpose, then yes, maybe.
In your opinion, should government pursue price control?
I agree.
Do you think that government should pursue a minimum wage on jobs?
No.
What about if a person rents an apartment? Who do you think benefits in that transaction? The tenant or the landlord?
The landlord.
The landlord. For people waiting for organ transplant, do you think it's better for government to take control in selling them?
Yeah, because it could be more healthier than the other ones.
Do you know how much sales tax you pay for a good or like a TV in Panama?
Like 7%.
7%, yes.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, do you think that medical marijuana should be sold in like coffee shops and be illegal here in Panama?
Yes.
In your opinion, should government pursue price control policies for basic food items?
I agree.
In your opinion, government should pursue a minimum wage policy?
Agree.
When a person rents out an apartment, who benefits from the transaction?
Both tenant and landlord.
For people waiting for organ transplants, I think selling organs in a government-regulated environment is a better solution than organ donation.
Disagree.
How much sales tax do you pay for most goods in Panama?
7%.
In my opinion, recreational and medicinal marijuana should be sold in coffee shops and pharmacies with appropriate government regulation.
Agree.
Have you taken any basic economics or finance classes in school?
No.
Do you ever read any economic articles online or in the newspaper?
No.
So one of the questions that we asked in our survey was, should government pursue price control policies for basic food items? Most people agreed. They thought that lower prices would be better for poor people so that they can afford basic food items. Lower prices also means higher demand. However, if there's no price control, there will be higher prices, which means lower demand, which is good for scarcity. On the survey, we asked a similar question, which was, should government pursue a minimum wage policy? 9 out of 10 people who took the poll agreed, because they think it's important for workers to receive minimum salary to survive and to fulfill their basic needs. However, what most people don't realize is that if the higher the minimum wage goes, more people will get replaced with machines. We also asked on our survey, when a person rents an apartment, who benefits, the tenant or the landlord? In reality, they both benefit. The tenant gets a place to stay in, doesn't have to worry about the electricity or water bill, and isn't completely responsible for the property. And the landlord gets income from the rent.
In the question of government regulation on organ selling rather than using the means of donation, most people disagreed with this, meaning that they think that donating is better than selling, even though it would be in a government-regulated environment. And surprisingly, many people do not know about this topic. They answered, "I don't know," on the question. So that means that they aren't economically literate on the topic. So if the government were to regulate organ selling, it would mean that there'd be a lower chance for bad organ transplants, meaning that there would be less defective or failing organs since it would be government regulated. And a con would be that some people might not be able to afford organs since the government would price organs and perhaps even tax them. And also another con would be that people would be put on a list based on how much they need the organ. And if they don't want to wait until they're at the top of the list, they might use illegal means to get the organ that they need. And on the other hand, if organs were to be donated, then people can afford them more easily, and there'd be no queue for people based on need, meaning that the use of illegal methods would occur less often. And when people were asked the regular tax rate that they pay for most goods in Panama, they answered correctly with 7%. And people know about this because they deal with it on a daily basis with every purchase that they make. The tax rate that they deal with is 7%, and they see it constantly, so that's why they know what it is. And finally, when asked if marijuana should be sold in coffee shops and pharmacies with government regulation, most people said yes. Now, the legalization of marijuana would mean that it would be easier for people to access it, whether it be for recreational or medical use. And if the government were to regulate it, then there'd be it wouldn't be in the black market, which is where it's currently at. And also, the government could impose a sales tax on it, which could generate income for the government. And of course, it would be less dangerous to obtain it, since people wouldn't have to purchase it from dealers, which can be dangerous sometimes.
Concluding with all the questions, we can see that most people agree that the government should intervene in situations such as food pricing and minimum wage placement, because they believe that the government will consider all aspects and make the best decision. With organ selling or donating, most people feel that donating is better because it is left up to choice and there is no black market, although there might be a possibility of faulty organs. Most people are educated on the taxes they pay because they deal with this every day. With marijuana being sold in everyday shops, most agree, which implies that they believe that it being sold can improve the economy and easier access creates more income. The rational economic person will look to maximize personal benefit at all times. And finally, most people don't know about how the economy works even though they deal with it every day, meaning that there is a higher need for economic literacy.